Welcome to Wealth Made Simple with Shaz, where you'll learn how to master your money through business, property, and tax-saving strategies. Your host has collectively helped his clients make tens of millions of pounds in additional profits through these strategic approaches to business. Introducing Shaz Nawaz, an award-winning chartered accountant, property tax expert, entrepreneur, and property investor.
Hello and welcome to Mark My Words. I've got Shaz Nawaz here, who is a local Peterborough celebrity, involved in, he's predominantly an accountant, he's involved in politics, he's got loads of business experience, and we're going to have a sort of freestyle podcast where we just chew the fat and discuss what's happening in property and business and maybe a bit of political banter as well. So Shaz, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Pleasure.
So Shaz, tell me, give me some ideas in terms of what you're doing at the moment in terms of property and your business. What's sort of tickling you at the moment?
There's plenty going on. Just about to finish the build of 5 two-bedroom flats. That should be done in about 3 weeks' time.
Great. Whereabouts,
nice
roughly?
Tidy project. Off the Triangle.
In Peterborough. Peterborough. Okay, great. Yeah.
In Peterborough. A nice little tidy project.
Yeah.
Bought the land, obtained planning, and then we've built the flats.
Nice.
So that's just about to complete.
You're going to sell them?
We're going to sell them.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than that, I bought a building, no money down.
Yeah.
In Boston.
Oh, nice.
For £395,000.
Yeah.
Had planning for 18 flats.
Yeah.
6 two-bedroom and 12 one-bedroom.
Yeah.
We were able to get squeeze in a couple of more flats.
Yeah.
I say a couple more, 3 more in fact.
Yeah.
We're up to 21 now.
It was a commercial building.
Commercial building.
Why was it no money down?
It was no money down for me because I had an investor.
Yeah.
He put some of the money.
Great.
And then we got a private funder.
Yeah. For the rest of it.
No,
you can't do no money down though, Shaz. It doesn't work. But obviously it does for you.
Well, that's what I used to think many years ago until I met you, Mark. And hold on a moment. This is too good to be true. So let me try it.
Yeah.
It's worked. It has worked.
Good.
And that's cost us £450,000 to refurbish.
Yeah.
Or redevelop.
Yeah.
And then utilities are about 70,000 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
So call it 520.
Yeah.
And the GDV on that is around about 1.9 million. All right.
So some
good.
nice chunky profits.
And that's just about to complete.
Yeah.
As well. The contractors promised us by the end of the year. It's probably going to go into January. But
if he's not almost finished now, then
he's about 90% of the way there. In fairness,
he's been a good lad. He's been a good boy.
He's been a very good lad.
Has he?
Very good lad. Yeah.
Oh, he's one to keep. Shaz.
He is one to keep. So I said, sign this contract here. You're doing all work for me and me only.
Yeah, that's it.
And then I think you and I talked about previously the New England Club.
Yes.
So that's a commercial building.
That's a conversion.
We had to apply for planning. 6 one-bedroom flats, 6 two-bedroom flats.
Yeah.
That worked really well from a tax point of view. Asbestos, so we claimed land remediation,
capital allowances. Yeah, slab.
That as well. Plus, on top of that, where it was a partnership business, moving into a limited company. So we get an uplift in the base cost of the price.
So you've done that at the end, have you? You've developed it in a partnership.
No, yet to be developed.
But halfway through, you're going to move into an LLP or a partnership.
We've already moved it into a limited company.
Yeah. So are you going to claim incorporation relief?
That's right, because we're holding on to it.
And then you're going to keep it. So you've rebased it. So if you sell it in the future, you're not going to have to pay
as much capital gains tax. Although there'll be corporation tax, but the profit will be reduced on paper.
Yeah.
Because the purchase price has gone up, which is called obviously the rebasing of the base cost.
Yeah, nice. So, and then it'll be in a limited company, so you're not going to have issues of Section 21, etc.
Yep, but the other beauty also...
Section 24, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, the other beauty is that because we moved it into a limited company, if we were to sell it, we'd only pay corporation tax, recycle the rest of the cash into future projects.
Yeah.
Whereas if you'd kept it in a partnership, we'd have had to pay 45% tax because we're all additional rate taxpayers.
Of course.
So that's another cash flow benefit if and when we sell it, which we don't intend to, by the way.
Yeah. Plus, is the whole freehold going into the limited company? Or?
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping it simple.
So the capital allowances have to be sort of transferred across.
Yes.
It's quite nice claiming them in an LP, isn't it? Against 45%. But we can't have our cake and eat it all of the time.
Well, what we could do is, I know we're not here to talk about tax today, but we might as well while I'm
get onto it.
You can also have a hybrid structure where you have an LLP, for example, or a partnership, and a limited company as a corporate partner.
Yeah.
And then you can structure it as such as the capital allowances are claimed by the LLP, and some of the other expenses and costs are burdened by the
limited
or borne
company.
by the limited company, and you get to take some of the money out tax free. Complicated. We'll probably do that on another podcast because that probably needs about 45 minutes to explain.
I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
I've always been sort of in the back of my mind. I thought can't do that because they brought all these rules in about corporate members within LLPs. But it sounds like you found a way around that to make.
There
it
are
work.
those rules when people were setting up partnerships, and then every single shareholder. Director had their own limited company on top, and they were abusing the rules by taking their own salary up into the corporate partner.
Yeah,
we're not doing that here whatsoever. So there's no profit extraction as such.
Yeah,
this is just a different type of. This is a different way of using the rules.
Yeah, without
looking at profit extraction, it's more about the expenditure.
So because it's not profit extraction and not taking dividends out or drawings. This is just about offsetting losses.
Yeah.
Therefore, you've not got the same issues.
Exactly.
I didn't realise that.
Because remember previously, there was no tax to pay on dividends until you used up your basic rate.
Yeah.
And that's why people used to have a corporate partner. So they used to move all the money in there and take it out as a dividend and get a tax advantage.
Yeah.
That's why those rules came in back in 2014. So that's the New England club. And we're going to make a chunky bit of profit there as well, by the way. Nothing like the Marks and Spencer building, by the way. Nothing like that.
Shaz, you flatter. You flatter. Not to deceive. Yeah. So
I'm not finished yet.
Go on. What sort of numbers am I allowed to know? We're well into six figures. Are we into?
Oh yeah, six figures.
Well into. Yeah.
Okay. You could buy a couple of Lamborghinis quite easily, Mark.
God,
Let's put it that way, shall we?
I wouldn't want to.
And a Ferrari Testarossa.
No, more of a 911 man.
Yeah. That's my favourite car, believe it or not. Yeah. I used to have a 911 Turbo, probably the best car I've ever had. And I've had some nice cars.
I remember you mentioning that. Yeah. My heater blower's just broken again for something like the third winter, so I'm probably a little bit annoyed. But I'm keen. I've had mine now, I think 4.5 years, and it's, 7 years old or whatever, and I'm keen to get a 992. And do you know what? I was looking over the weekend at a Gate Grey 992 Carrera 2S's Cabriolet. They're the thing. They do everything.
They are nice.
So
they're so reliable, aren't they?
Well, generally, yeah.
My one was anyway.
Yeah, it causes 10 times less grief than that Lamborghini. So I am keen.
Yeah, don't blame you.
Yeah.
So that's the New England club.
Yeah.
I'm just about to complete a deal in Leicester. Bought some land with planning.
Yeah.
7-story building.
Residential.
Student accommodation.
Oh, yeah.
37 units. And that's a pretty good one as well. And we might be able to go up a story or two as well, up a floor or two.
So that's all about the planning consultant.
That's all about the planning consultant.
The offices.
I've got a good inkling that might happen.
Yeah.
And it's right near the city centre.
Yeah.
Not too far away from
I like doing stuff
Leicester
like that.
University.
Yeah.
So that works incredibly well.
Yeah.
So that's something for the new year.
Do they need a lot of beds there? Are they still growing?
I think that
like Nottingham.
I think there's good demand there because you've got De Montfort University, you've got Leicester University, and then you've got their college. So Leicester's I think it's a good place to invest.
I've heard in Nottingham they need several hundred or 1,000 beds. It wouldn't surprise me if Leicester's the same for student stuff. So
pretty
still
much
growing,
it
is it? Yeah. Peterborough. I saw in the local paper, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, this new university, they're talking about for the something like almost or a very small number of students are going to be residential. They're just going to be based in businesses, and also for something like the first 10 years, they're not going to be looking to attract any students from outside the town.
I don't think that's...
Is that not right?
I don't think that's factually correct, because
You think it's wrong?
the whole idea is to start it off slowly, and then within 3 or 4 years, start marketing it to people outside.
That's got to be the way forward, hasn't it?
It's got to be a balance.
We've got to grow this city. And,
we have to serve local people as well. But at the same time, open it up to others, because there's a few different advantages Peterborough has in terms of specialising in a particular niche, if I can call it that.
It's technical, isn't it? Is it engineering and that sort of thing?
Well, if I have my way, and if I come back in May, and we have a conversation about where we are in terms of who's controlling the council in Peterborough, if I have it my way, I would say we have a university which is committed to digital transformation, artificial intelligence.
Well, surely
that type of stuff, because that's where we need to be.
Clever people. You want to start in. Of course, you've got to help local people. In addition, though, you want to import a load of brainy people
and keep them here.
Yeah, and then keep them here afterwards once they've finished.
And Peterborough's a gig city.
Yeah.
So we've got super fast broadband, as you know.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you have a university and then attract large employers to come into the city?
Artificial intelligence.
And say, we've got the really whiz kids here who are just coming out of university who know all this stuff here. Because large corporates, as you'll probably know from experience, they struggle to find talent.
Yeah,
and
we do.
Yeah,
we do.
We do a small business.
And if you can drag them in, and then that improves, the economy, improves the schools, then this whole cycle gets lifted.
Well, you create a circular economy, don't you?
Yeah.
So watch this space, and if I have anything to do with it in the near future, which hopefully I will make sure Peterborough has a university, which is different. We can't compete with Cambridge, which is down the road. We can't compete with Leicester University, Nottingham University, for example, Loughborough.
They're good.
Which are all close by, and they're good, aren't they?
They are.
They are good.
I remember when I did my A levels, and I ended up in Bristol at UE, but God, I wanted to go to Loughborough or Nottingham or one of those, and they're bloody good.
But if we specialise in a particular niche, a bit like
the
Lincoln.
Others can't do.
Lincoln,
Lincoln's doing right, because Lincoln's a good example, isn't it? Because it sort of was a smaller, not red brick, it's sort of ex-poly, and it's developed itself into a niche.
Nice,
it's come from somewhere similar to Peterborough. It hasn't always been that brilliant red brick. No, and still isn't.
So if we have a particular specialism, that is in demand, especially artificial intelligence or digital transformation,
grow that.
I think we'll have a good niche which will be in demand. So watch this space. So I'll just finish off the
student stuff you're doing in Leicester.
That's in Leicester. We should. I say we should. With conveyances, it takes forever, but we should complete. I'm hoping by the end of January, worst case February, and then start work on it. Alongside that, I've agreed to buy a piece of land not too far away from Peterborough. With planning. For 12 houses.
Nice.
That's very, very nice. Purchase price of 1.1 million. Development costs of 1.4 million plus £300,000 on the road because we're buying it off a farmer and he wants us to do up the road, which gives us access. It also gives him access.
So it's part of the deal. Sweetens it up for him.
1.7 million. And GDV of 4.5. So that's a good 1.7 million pounds profit in there, which is not bad.
That's good. Bad. So you got your bill cost worked out.
So I'm kind of edging towards the Marks and Sparks.
I'll come off it.
Profit
Shaz.
figures, Mark, one of these days. But
you've already outlined. You've already outlined more stuff than that.
And we've got that happening. And that's keeping me busy. Then I've got something else coming up in Fletton Keys, which you might have seen, the old mill.
I had a little look at that last week. It's on the water. I haven't bid on it. I probably won't bid on it, but it looks interesting.
It's not workable, and I hope your listeners would benefit from this conversation because they're selling the mill with a piece of land.
Seen that land.
On the land, you can get planning for about 28 units, plus or minus a few.
Geological issues with the river?
That might be a slight concern, but I think what the big concern is, it's going to cost a lot of money to redevelop the mill.
Why?
So the mill has a negative value,
Yeah.
I'd say of around about £500,000, if not more.
Yeah.
Because it's a building of local interest, so you can't change it from outside. If you go in the building, the first 2 floors are really low. You can just about get in there because the ground floor.
So you're gonna have to change
was
the
used
floors
for storage.
Change the floor.
That's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
The council, we were thinking of changing it into an art centre.
That's obviously why they
£4
want
million it was going to cost to convert.
That's obviously why they want to sell it. So really, it's going to need somebody who's got pretty heavy construction background. I would have thought.
And I think it needs a specialist. So
Yeah.
it's up for £500,000.
Yeah.
The land, okay.
Up for £500,000 with the land or without?
With the land.
Yeah.
The land on its own, I think, Mark, is probably worth £1 million.
Yeah.
The mill is bringing the value down.
Yeah.
So
Same old, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's not workable for me because
No.
it's a specialist job. Like you said, there could be issues with geology,
Yeah.
piling.
Well, there will be all that. That's the river's the bit that put me off. And I, if I'm honest, of course I've got plenty on at the moment, but I just thought, and maybe I shouldn't think like this. Lots of people have told me about it, and as soon as that happens, I just become really disinterested.
Yeah.
Because I just think the best deals that I've done have just been the ones that didn't really look like a deal and no one was interested in, and I just stayed on it. And then after about a year, I made it work. See what I mean? So I'll probably let a load of people bid on it and then it not work, and maybe I might have a look when I've got a bit more time in a year if it hasn't, and if not, then I just crack on with the other stuff.
I'll tell you what, I think somebody from outside Peterborough is going to buy it. Somebody who perhaps doesn't have the...
Well, you know what they do? They always come in, they go, oh, that's cheap.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, this is the bill cost. And they always under-egg the bill cost. And then they go, well, the values can't be that. And they'll look at 𝐓𝐿 next door and they go, oh, they're all selling for 300 a foot. But that's too cheap. Can't be right. It's whatever. And then they'll finish it. They won't get anything like 𝐓𝐿 because obviously you can see they're new, they're nice, there's huge glazing and all the rest of it. And they'll also have probably estimated that they're going to get even more than that because they don't really get Peterborough, and they'll end up making a loss. And that happens a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
It does.
Especially when investors are coming from down south where they're saying,
Oh, yeah.
you
It all
can't buy a
looks cheap.
2-bedroom flat for £500,000 where I'm from.
All that.
And all that type of stuff, which is right, but this is a different area. So you've got to apply local pricing to this and not where you're from, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does make sense because I see it all the time. In fact, I could name 3 office conversions in the middle of town where exactly that's happened with a load of, and they're always from London, and they've usually got too much money. Yeah. And the agents just put their hands together.
Lap it up, come on.
Yeah.
This is made for you.
Yeah.
So again, I think the value in this conversation here is make sure you do your homework, make sure you do your due diligence. Don't get too emotional or passionate about the deal. Okay, look at the numbers, and if the numbers don't work, walk away.
Absolutely.
Something else will come by. There's plenty of deals out there. I've said no to 3 or 4 in the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Because I've got so much going on right now. A bit like yourself. So
you want to keep looking and keep bidding. I'm probably a bit guilty of not doing that when I've got plenty on. But you just probably need to keep bidding low, and then eventually some of them come back.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
But I do. I get so entrenched in what I'm doing. I think, I don't want to take any more on at the moment.
Yeah, but as you know, some of these deals are really slow burns.
Yeah,
so
they are.
you got to start like a year to 18 months before, and then just keep chipping away slowly.
Then eventually they
Make it
become more
happen.
negotiable.
Perseverance, isn't it?
It works. Yeah, it is.
Simple as that.
Oh, all the best ones I've had have taken a year, 18 months of chipping away. And then all of a sudden, the vendor goes, I've had enough. All right, go back to him and tell him yes. Yeah. Then suddenly it works.
But I'm not finished yet with my property deals.
Carry on.
Okay.
This sounds like you're the local sort of the main house builder in Peterborough at the moment, Shaz.
That's how it sounds. But
this is Persimmon, Barrett, Taylor, all into one. You're going to be providing the local, the local plan with all its housing need for the next 10 years by the sounds of it.
I would love to do that for Peterborough.
Single-handedly.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, you can help me out if you want. Well,
it's not a bad thing, is it? I mean, it's bloody good helping the council with their numbers.
It's important.
Yeah.
As you know, I have an option agreement on a piece of land, 12.5 acres in Grantham.
Yeah.
Where Savills were acting for me. and I've spent best part of £250,000,
Yeah.
and the planning didn't go through. We went to the planning inspectorate, and they turned it down. So we're still working on that, trying to redesign the scheme.
Yeah.
And I guess the point of sharing that with your listeners is not everything goes your way.
No.
Sometimes stuff goes wrong.
Yeah.
And if I look back, why did it go wrong? Well, two reasons. First, I got excited. I thought, well, 12.5 acres, we can build a load of houses here. This is going to, and make everybody a lot of money and serve the local community. And secondly, I thought, oh, well, Savills are acting for me. What could possibly go wrong? Savills are the best in the business. So I got a bit excited by the big name as well.
Yeah.
And that's why I've kind of ended up where I've ended up. But I think we can still make it work.
Yeah.
Still make it work.
And I suppose with that also, it's about, protecting the downside. Maybe, making sure you've got control and, ownership before you spend loads of money, unless you've got a really sort of long option period and all the rest of it. And sort of looking at where maybe the balance of risk is. Is it, it's easy for planning consultants and Savills and professionals and all that, just take the fees, but they've got a vested interest in taking fees rather than making it work. Yeah, and I have that on loads of sites. Absolutely. Professionals just charging away, and it doesn't matter whether it works or not for them.
Where it kind of blurred my thought process is Savills were willing to do a no-win, no-fee basis.
Yeah.
But then being an accountant, I said, well, what if I pay you a fixed fee?
Yeah.
It was half the amount compared to the no-win, no-fee. Yeah. Looking back now, I should have gone for the no-win, no-fee. I paid them double.
Yeah.
But the accountant said, well, hold a minute, you're going to save 50%. Yeah. They're doing a no-win, no-fee. Therefore, they obviously know something I don't.
Yeah.
They are so confident. Pay them
that could be part of their marketing.
Fee. Pay the fixed fee. It could be good then, looking back now.
Yeah.
So I paid the fixed fee. But as you know, Mark, not everything sticks. And being property investors, entrepreneurs, call it what you like, sometimes it's those hard lessons as well, which force us to think differently. A bit like what David McCord was talking about last week when I was with him and Rob in London. You've got to think differently and try and find a different solution to the same problem, but by having a different perspective.
Yeah.
And we only do that once we're kind of either forced to look at things differently or when we don't have any other option.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you kind of become comfortable and everything's working okay. And a bit like where you and I are to some extent. Well, we don't need to look at more deals. We've got a few deals going on. Well, why do I want to?
You don't push the boundaries, do you?
Yeah,
you got to push the boundaries.
You get in your comfort zone. So, so that deal is taking me outside my comfort zone, which is good.
Unless you're making mistakes. And to some extent, if it's new in a new area, Alfie Best was mentioning this last week when we were having lunch. He's gone to Barbados. He's buying a load of stuff there. He didn't, before, a few years ago, he'd bought nothing there. And I said, how do you get your head around, all the new legals and all the fight? And he just looked at me, he goes, you've got to pay the idiot tax. And I said, I described that as your entrance fee. Yeah. And that is what bloody happens. Yeah. You've got to go and waste some money paying the idiot tax to learn what does work, what doesn't work. And when you go into a new market or as you're doing into a new sort of style or niche of property investment or development, great if you can try and control it a bit. But it's just, that's the reality. And if you don't do that, you don't move forward. You've got to make those mistakes, haven't you?
Absolutely. And then the last one which I'm working on is I bought a piece of land, 11.8 acres in Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
Applied for planning. The planning didn't go through. But when the council came back, they made it very clear in their reasoning that this was an isolated location. And this is the beauty, by the way, Mark, of using a good planning consultant.
No, they're worth their weight in gold.
My planning consultant, hold a moment, you can't get planning here, but they are saying this is an isolated location. So paragraph 79 applies. And paragraph 79, in a nutshell, basically, are the types of homes you see on grand designs, those big houses.
Okay.
So I am now putting everything together
to do one of those.
So I can live in it.
Okay.
Really, I don't think I've shared the drawing with you, have I?
No.
I'll email them to you. It's really cool.
Also, if you're going to live in it, my understanding is you can get round, I think it's SIL. Don't think you have to pay it.
No.
I don't know if you've sort of used that one, but I've had a couple of people say that to me recently.
My barrister's not brought it up, as in he hasn't said, I need to pay SIL.
Yeah. So there isn't.
I say barrister, the guy I'm using is a planning barrister.
Yes. Oh, yeah. David.
No, another one.
So, yeah, I would look at that. But if you haven't got a penny, not an issue, is it?
Yes. So again, that turned from a piece of land without planning, and I've turned it into something special and different. So it's kind of reinvention in a different way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So again, thinking of solutions outside the box.
Which has got to be the way forward.
Especially in the current climate, I think, with how things are.
And how are things? What's going to happen on Thursday, Shaz?
Well, if I knew that, I'd be a very rich man, Mark.
Yeah.
As things are at the moment,
Yeah.
looking at what the polls are telling us, it looks like it's going to be a hung parliament, doesn't it?
Is that right? Is that what the polls are saying? I mean, I was watching Andrew Marr yesterday.
So was I.
Yeah, and they've got that guy on there. They always wheel him out, don't they? The pollster. Look, they were all wrong last time. I don't know how right or wrong he was, but he thought 345 seats, Conservatives working majority, but maybe not.
Well,
we'll see,
they only need. Whichever party gets it.
Yeah.
They only need 326 seats.
It's 326, is it?
326.
That's a majority.
To form a government. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
So
Friday morning. Is it announced Thursday night?
No.
Friday morning.
No. Friday morning, 3-4 o'clock. If you want.
But they don't all need to declare, do they?
They don't only
because at some point it's obvious.
You get a good inkling at about 3-4 in the morning.
So Friday morning.
Friday morning, really.
Yeah.
But
we know whether to emigrate Friday morning or not.
It's not going to be that bad. Labour are going to transform the country, as you know, Mark. And again, that's going to present some good opportunities for you
to build.
How can I do things differently?
To deliver more housing stock, potentially, to housing associations? Do you think that's the opportunity?
No, I think housing...
What's it going to be? Councils?
I think housing associations, to some extent, are going to be a thing of the
curtailed.
past.
Yeah.
So you'll see more councils.
You think they'll diminish housing
owning
associations?
their own stock, which I think is a fantastic thing.
Yeah. Yeah, because, well, I suppose then the profit goes back into the council and they can pay for services.
Exactly.
Which is better than... I mean, with housing associations, I've never quite known where the line is between whether they're sort of charity, not-for-profit and, and sort of profit-making organisations. When they make money, where does the profit go? Do you know?
I think they're supposed to.
Supposed to reinvest it.
Reinvest it.
So therefore, surely the result should be sort of good and the same.
They should, but I can talk about Peterborough and some of the surrounding local authorities. Most of the housing associations have failed to build enough homes.
Because
that's why we have the problem that we have.
It's too easy for them just to... Because it's all self-perpetuating, isn't it? They get all the rent coming in. It's not a problem, is it?
Exactly, and they just do what they need to do.
Yeah. Well, why would you
do extra?
Why would you get stressed and create more risk for yourself when
Whereas the council has a statutory duty to provide accommodation to somebody who becomes homeless.
Yeah.
Housing associations don't. No. And this is why I think the local authorities and the councils should control that themselves and build their own stock.
There must be so much pressure on these councils now with, obviously lack of revenue, but all these other competing forces for cash.
Big time,
yeah.
And it's difficult.
Yeah, of course it is. But it'd be good if we could supply some of it, but I don't know, it all seems so complicated. And then you just think, I'll just build another block and, put it out for private rent because I know how to do it and it seems simpler and the pathway seems simpler. And I wonder if government could, I don't know, incentivise us to provide housing stock for councils and make it a simpler process so that we know we're actually going to,
I was talking to an architect yesterday, Spanish guy, office based in London, and they've just gone into Mumbai now in India to set up an office. And he said they're getting clients building anywhere from 50 to 250, 300 homes, and the planning application takes between 4 to 8 weeks. Actually takes 4 to 8 weeks. I thought, hold on a moment.
How the hell does that work?
Here, we take 6 months to build it, 2 years.
Yeah.
He said it's a different mindset there.
Yeah.
They want to grant planning permission to people so they can crack on and improve the locality.
Alfie was talking about this last week. I don't really get why it's all the NIMBYs and all the opposition groups. What is it? Why is it always the presumption is no? Now try and persuade us why it's a yes.
Well, I think partly you've got to work with the local plan, Mark, but above and beyond that, there's so many different departments involved. You've got highways here, environment here,
consultees,
consultees, the whole thing. Okay, and unless you're able to build a good story, always work with the officers. By the way, so I've sat on the planning committee in the past. So I know how that works.
I try and do what they say. Yeah.
Work with the officers, and they'll help and guide you where they can. You've got to be patient, because it's not going to happen in 6 to 8 weeks' time. And
that's just a complete nonsense. That is.
That's fantasy, by the way.
Complete fantasy. Yeah, I don't think I've managed to do any of them inside 6 months, and most are a year or more. Yeah, that's the reality.
So work with them. Build a story of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that story does make a big difference. Because when I was on the planning committee, when an appellant used to come in and say, why they should be granted planning, sometimes we used to go against the advice of the officers, because the story of why something's happening
was strong.
Was so strong, and partly emotional, partly logical, where you thought this makes good sense. Benefit to society, what they're doing, or benefit to their own family or their elderly parents, that type of stuff. That sways the planning committee to some extent. But it has done, because I've seen that happen on 2 or 3 occasions.
Interesting.
But you got to build that story and kind of build a connection, not just file your application and say, okay, here you go, council, see you later. Now, officers want to work with you, and most officers are good people in my experience. So if you approach them, talk to them, work with them, address their concerns, more often than not, they want to see planning applications to go through, because there's no incentive for them to block stuff. But they need to make sure that all the boxes are ticked and everything is in line with policy.
Yeah, of course they do. And I see that when, they've got a load of competing sort of interests and things that they've got to satisfy, and it must be a bit like, I don't know, a bit of a tightrope they're walking, So sort of accountancy, tax, any new stuff which you can see coming? We were talking about the slab. The 2%, I think last week we had a chat about that. You can claim 2% a year on the structure.
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years, depreciate that down.
2%.
The land remediation relief on removal of asbestos.
Japanese knotweed, contamination.
Any oil.
That type of stuff.
So that's
petrol stations, that type of stuff.
150% of the cost can go against only corporation tax, only in a limited company.
Only in a limited company, you're right.
And then obviously on buildings, your capital allowance is about 20% of the purchase price.
Which is big. But it depends on the building, really, because sometimes it could be 25, 30, 35%, if you're buying...
I'd 30% on a retail building.
Certain buildings, yeah. It depends how well kitted out they are.
The plant and machinery.
Yeah, it could be massive.
Yeah.
So on the New England Club, it was 25% for us.
Yeah.
And it's just a normal commercial building, but because it also had a pub in it, there was quite a bit there from that side, which helped us.
And then you get another about 20% on the communal areas, the bits between the flats. So all the plant and machinery, boilers and signage and doors.
Every little bit adds up. So you've got that. Incorporation, you've got 2, because that's quite big. Because now it's really biting people, isn't it? It's into the 4th year. So if you have a partnership or an LLP, go into a limited company. If you don't, then the hybrid structure I'm talking about, you can do that immediately. Have a partnership or an LLP, straight away have a limited company as a corporate partner. That's a good opportunity, which most accountants and advisors aren't talking about.
No, they're not. There's only you talking about this at the moment, and I really want to do this, and I'm going to be... maybe what I need to do is just instruct you to do some advice for us.
We'll have a look
that's
at that.
What we'll. I think that's what we'll have to. Because this is my big quandary at the moment. I want to keep buying buildings into LLPs, claiming the capital allowances, but I've got this issue of Section 24, so I want to be able to offset the mortgage interest against the rent. And of course, I'm in this sort of limbo at the moment as to, we've been buying into limited companies, but of course the capital allowances, we can not offset them at the same level. It's become a real... It's really changed things,
It has, So you've got that. And there's loads of different kind of hybrid structures people can use. which they don't think about. That there's so many different types of small reliefs, like use of home as office, for example. With
Yes.
Christmas coming up, the Christmas party, for example, trivial benefits.
Yeah. So you use of home office. What you take all the bedrooms and the living areas, and you can use maybe one as your home office and divide.
Well, it depends how much space you need.
Yeah.
So if let's say you've got an Amazon business, and you've got stock there, and 2 of your rooms are used as stock rooms, and you use a third one for your office. Your use of home office as office is going to be much bigger than somebody who just has one room where they've got a desk and a few filing cabinets.
Yeah, and then you divide up the use of those rooms
into the overall house, and you a portion
mortgage interest, utilities,
the whole thing. So you got 2 options. The fixed costs per HMRC's website. That's based on how many hours you work and how much space you use. That's really low. Really low.
Oh, we don't
I
do
think
that.
It starts at £2 a week or £4 a week. Really low.
Sounds like 40p a mile that didn't change for 2 decades or whatever.
45
pence.
Yeah.
Whoopee. Yeah.
That's not too bad though. That's not too bad. Could have been 15 pence. And then the other method, which is the actual costs, which is what you're talking about, where you claim all your fixed costs plus your variable costs, gas, electric, all that type of stuff. I think amounts to a good number. Amounts to a really good number. You just got to be careful on how you do that, so you don't end up losing your principal residence relief on your property for business purposes, and you might have to pay business rates. But you can get around that if you can strongly demonstrate that the room is not used exclusively
just for that,
for office purposes.
I think that's what we do.
That's not just on paper. You have to actually obviously make sure you use it personally when you've got family, friends coming around, maybe a TV
gym
there,
equipment,
maybe kids playing there, all that type of stuff. So it's not exclusive use, which would then make sure you can claim all your principal residence relief and not pay any capital gains tax on your
so that's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, just to be aware of that. Mobile phones, people sometimes forget to claim those.
Need to put them through.
If you have employees, claim your £3,000 employment allowance a year. So there's lots of small little allowances.
They add up, don't they?
I'm telling you, they add up.
I noticed not that long ago. I always do my full ISA allowance every year, but I noticed the lifetime ISA. I'd always just assume, it's for first time buyers, not for me. But if you invest if you're under 40 and you invest in one of those, and I managed to just get in because I'm 39. You invest in and you get, I think it's £4,000, and the government then give you 25% back. Right. And yes, you use it as a deposit on a home. But if you get to 60 and you've not used it, you can then draw it out and do whatever you want with it. So, and you can keep investing in it till you're 50. Now, of course, it's not loads of money, but it's like, I don't know, £1,000 a year. Which you get extra given to you by the government, and you can do that for 10 years and it all gets invested. And if you have to draw it out, you just have to pay the 25% back. So why wouldn't you do it?
Exactly. You know, the savings, there's no one kind of big hit usually for most people. It's a small little marginal gains here, there, wherever, which all kind of
chip
compound
away
and add up, don't they?
They do. They do.
But add up big time, by the way.
They do. And you've got to do it every year, because when you don't do your ISA, or your LISA, or maybe you don't put money in your pension, you end up losing it. With pensions you can go back 3 years, but you've got to do it every year.
It's good discipline. I mean, something like the marriage allowance. So if you have a spouse who, and if you're a basically rate taxpayer and your spouse isn't using up their personal allowance, you can use up 10% of their personal allowance. That gets you about £250. Go back 4 years. £1,000
£1,000
in your pocket.
And move forward 20 years. All of a sudden you got another £5,000, and then you invest it, turns into 10 grand.
10 grand easy.
Pennies make pounds.
That's right. That's right. So there's plenty of those savings that people either aren't aware of or they don't pick up on.
Is there somewhere where all this stuff is collated, where you can just read it all? And I've never found anywhere like that. I always just have to hear about it.
You can read the tax statutes and legislation.
If you understand it.
Best part of 20,000 pages, by the way.
Shaz, no.
So you've got that, and then obviously you can go online. But in about 6 to 8 weeks' time, I've got a tax book for property investors. Especially for
coming out.
Property investors coming out.
What's it called? Decided yet?
in two minds. I've got two different names.
Yeah.
So
Can you give us them?
the first one is Property Investors Tax Guide.
Yeah.
And the other one is Property Tax Made Simple.
Yeah.
Which one do you like, Mark? Or which one do you prefer?
Well, the second one, just because it sounds easier and just sounds like a sort of easier route in. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, and this is
I think you've got to
interesting.
test it. I think you've got to put it in our Facebook group,
Which
Progressive
I'm
Property
about to
Community,
do, yeah.
and then get them all to vote.
See which one you like.
You know what? I've learned that's a better way of doing it because what they think is more important.
Of course it is, yeah. It's for them anyhow.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. It started off as a 20,000 word book.
Yeah.
Ended up 110,000 words.
Did it?
Yeah, because every time I'd think about what else can I add
Bit
in?
more.
Oh, I've got this,
Yeah.
I've got this,
Yeah.
I've got that, I've got that. So I've ended up pretty much making it, I think it's going to be at 380 odd pages depending on the size of the book.
Shit.
Which is big and chunky,
Yeah.
but hopefully to some extent it's going to be a guide for property investors where it kind of covers most of the different tax reliefs and allowances.
Shaz's stud
Possible.
factor.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
bang, here you
Yeah,
go, read that.
Hey, well, mate, it gives you a lot of credibility bringing something like that out.
Yeah, and I get asked so many times from different people who miss out on certain things in terms of why did my accountant not share that with me or
They don't know it.
so I thought, you know what,
Yeah.
put in everything you know into
Yeah.
one book, make it easier for people.
Yeah,
And I'm sure there's things I haven't got in there just
Yeah.
because you've got to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
But I've tried to cover the most, if not all of the things most property investors need to be aware of.
That will be a labour of love because tax is one of those things that by its nature changes constantly. So you'll be able to do, by the time you're in, in that sort of old people's unit over in Hampton, you'll be on your 20th edition, Shaz. Do you know what I mean?
And still, smoking a cigar and just
Smoking
writing the
a cigar.
next tax relief. Here you go.
You won't be. You'll be in the Caribbean, sunning it on the beach.
No, looking for my next deal. And Mark, how many deals have you done this year?
Yeah,
Mark,
yeah.
oh, I'm just doing one, but it's GDV of 300 million. What about you, Shaz? I'm looking for the next deal as well.
You could have a lot of iterations of that, definitely. Because out of everything, if we put tax in a book, you just know it's changing. Yeah.
And man, people need to know this stuff, don't they?
It's where all the money goes. If you don't, I mean, you've got to, just use the reliefs that are there. Because most accountants and most people don't.
Yeah, and it's about being able to see how a particular relief can apply to a particular scenario.
Yeah.
People miss out on that.
Maybe even
Big time.
building some. I know you shouldn't let the tax tax tail wag the economic dog.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes buy buildings or do certain developments a certain way because I think there's a good sort of relief or something that helps me in terms of the tax position. And you should think about all that.
You say that in the New England Club, we're going to benefit from about, I think, £138,000 worth of tax savings with incorporating and land remediation and a few of the bits. They've all capital allowance. They've all added up to £138,000 of additional money in our pocket.
It's a lot of money there. And
Nothing racy pacey tax.
No,
I'm
just
not into
relief.
that kind of stuff.
No, neither am I. It's just a
I just
pain in
think
the
do smart
Yeah.
stuff. An extra £138,000. Why wouldn't you?
Well, you would. And the other thing about the 138,000 is if you make 138,000 extra in your business profit, you might end up with 50% of that in your pocket. But if you save 138 grand's worth of tax, you get 138 grand in your pocket.
Exactly.
So it's double bubble. It's
double,
worth
exactly,
that's worth
but
like
twice.
250, 275 extra profit.
And no extra work, no employees, no staff, no overhead, no headache.
Just using your noddle,
It's
just using your brain.
and thinking, how can I make use of all the allowances?
And reading
available.
loads on I'll go on Google, look at loads and loads of different articles, and then just work out how you can use all the reliefs properly.
Yeah. So, and I've got a live case right now. A lady buying some land, and her solicitor thinks she's got to pay residential rates.
Oh yeah, that old chestnut. Yeah.
I figured out a way where she doesn't.
No.
Where she doesn't. Okay.
Is it mixed use? Or it land?
Land with a building.
Yeah.
But
Is it agricultural?
there's an option agreement. Or there's an option agreement, but the person in the middle is knocking it down before
right.
they complete.
So therefore, it's not habitable.
But their solicitor
yeah, but
isn't having it.
no, Because
and
they don't know the rules.
Pay an extra £50,000
Because they don't know the stamp duty rules.
So I said to her, "Well, I will do it for you." And she said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, because we've done this many times before in different guises for people, and where we've given them advice." And then guess what happened? This is really good. She went to her solicitor and told her that, and this is a big firm, by the way, based in London, believe it or not. Came back and said, "We think we're conflicted here. Therefore, we cannot act for you, and we suggest you find a new conveyancer, and your tax advisor can give you advice on the SDLT."
Because they don't want to admit they're wrong, and
they
they've
don't
given
admit they're wrong.
incorrect
Well,
advice.
they can see a professional indemnity claim here, can't they?
Yeah.
Okay, he said, "We're not acting anymore." And I thought that was a bit nasty.
Bloody
really.
cop
That
out.
was nasty.
I mean, a lot of solicitors, they'll put the dick pack in the pants and sort of go, "Do you know what? We're not stamp duty specialists. If we've got an accountant and they are, then fine, we'll carry on acting and we'll use their advice." That's what they should do.
Well, if you read their terms and conditions, most of them say we don't offer. I think
stamp duty advice.
We don't offer any tax advice.
No,
of any.
No, well, they're not specialists in that. Even though
they're right, they shouldn't.
No, they shouldn't.
Their
really
job is to
shouldn't.
file the SDLT return, which they do, by the way. And we always write to them and say this is what the SDLT is. And never ever have I had it before where a solicitor said, "I'm not filing that." They said, "Fine, you're taking the indemnity."
Were they in Mayfair?
No, they weren't. No.
I mean, some of them there can be just outright. I mean, I've had one this afternoon. I mean, they've not done anything wrong. They're acting for a bank. But my solicitors just come along and it's to put to start a big loan for a development. And they've gone, "We need to give them an undertaking. Their fee's 15 grand." And I just looked, and they're in the middle of Mayfair, and I just thought, yeah, I know what this is going to be. And of course, I've got to go along with it because the bank want it. But they probably don't know any more than a bloody regional firm. But they just charge 3 times as much, and they have a load of airs and graces.
It's called place strategy.
Yeah.
So if you go into Knightsbridge and you see this little store called Harrods, as you walk in there, you're going to pay more for the same item you can buy somewhere else in Peterborough.
You're absolutely right.
Because you're in a certain place.
And that's just like buying buildings. You want to buy buildings off the worst marketeers where, the worst agents, the grubbiest, the ones that can't market properly, that don't advertise it and it's not on the right websites, and then you sell through the Harrods style agents.
Yeah. Exactly, there you go.
And you'll get different prices. And you'll pay different prices.
Of course you will, because it is partly in the marketing and partly in the presentation, isn't it?
Fucking a lot of it is.
Yeah,
I wish I was better at some of that. That's what I've got Rob for.
You're lucky. I'm still learning.
I still can't do it. That's why I don't sell a lot. Yeah. Shaz, it has been very interesting having you back. We love chewing the fat.
Thank you for having me.
I think we've done a lot this afternoon. I think everybody can be sure that you'll be back on again, hopefully.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
When we talk about the hybrid structure.
Yeah, I want to know more about that. We should, once you've sort of bottomed it out a bit more. How can people find you?
The best way really is if they're property investors. I've got a fantastic course through Progressive. Half-day tax discovery, if they just call the office here. And the boys and girls will give them information. Other than that, I've got 2 different websites. One is AA Accountants Limited, AA-Accountants Limited. AA-accountants.co.uk.
Yeah, okay.
And then I've got a website especially for property investors, entrustpropertytax.co.uk.
Cool.
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, all thanks to Rob Moore. So you can find me in all those different places now.
Shaz Nawaz, it's been emotional. Thank you very much for coming on Mark My Words.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Wealth Made Simple. You can follow and contact Shaz on the Facebook pages Entrust Property Tax and The Profits Wizard. You can also find Shaz on LinkedIn, YouTube and Instagram. Alternatively, email him at shaz@aa-accountants.co.uk. Build your wealth by mastering money.